respect. So you need to have all these things together for you to sometimes enjoy a good employment. But for an entrepreneur, you need a good result. From the very now, how has it helped me? For me, myself, I have enjoyed good results. I've enjoyed from I had a first class in Nigerian law school, and I was second best in my university. So that particular achievement that has also helped me, because most time when someone wants to introduce me to a client, they'll be like, that guy is very good. He's a first class lawyer. He made a first class from Nigerian law school, and that is enough for that person to feel at home. But majority of the clients I've met did not ask you about when were you called. Nobody asked you that. What is the result? Nobody asked. I currently have this Chinese client, a man from Chinese as my client. He has never asked me of my result. He has never asked me of anything. But of course, whenever he has his brief, he trusts me very well. Whenever he wants to give me his brief, he calls me, he gives me briefs and all those things. We have a very fine relationship going on, and he has never asked me of my results. So your result may not really matter. That's the reason why I say it depends. There's some place you want to sell yourself because now you are a principal. So you want to sell yourself to somebody who wants to entrust a brief to you as a young lawyer. Your results might probably give the person a little bit of confidence. But now, if I have not done it for the first person, I don't need my result anymore. Because that person now is referring another person to me. And I say, oh, Daniel is good. He did that one for me. He reached out the comment, it was perfect. He did it within 2 days. Use him. Now that second person who is coming is not asking for my result anymore. He's now asking for my experience. And somebody else has already put in words for me. So these are the advantages you may have and getting a good result. From the very set go, you may probably need your result in some instances to help you get certain jobs. Other times you may not necessarily need that result. With your expertise, with your skill, with your experience, you'll be able to fill in that gap. Now, the next thing I'm going to say is there's no mandatory privilege. Of course, we are aware. Like I said, I'll focus less on academic issues. Legal profession, there's no mandatory privilege period. Before, there was the whole 5 years. You must be a lawyer under somebody for 5 years before you can open your own law firm. And recently, there was a bill. The bill is called the Legal Profession and Regulation Bill that was proposed recently, so that lawyers, they say that the law profession is no longer sanitized, that a lot of lawyers are beginning to misbehave and blah, 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 that they should bring back privilege period and all those things. But that bill never saw the light of the day. And I'm happy it never did, because I had a friend that once told me that his salary was 50,000 naira. But because he was just starting, they say he was under probation. So they were paying him salary of 25,000 naira. In this economy that we are, 25K for a lawyer. I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you experiences of myself and my friends and of people I know. So I'm not here to tell you myths. No. So 25,000 naira is somebody's salary in this economy that we are. And if somebody wants to tell you that you should be a people, another kind of person for 5 years, you rot in poverty. Your family may even start probably saying that maybe you did not go to the proper law school, maybe you went to another law school. Why are your mates buying cars and you're still asking them for transport? So yeah, so that was it. So there's no mandatory privilege. You should have that in mind. Now, how did I start? I started by registering. Registration is very key. Although if you look at Scammer very well, if you are using your name, if I was using my law firm as Daniel Abah Iduh, I don't necessarily need to register. But if I'm using Iduh Advocates or any other thing that is not my name, or there's an acronym of my name, I need to register. That's what the CAMA says. But I would advise you, if you want to start your own law firm, register your law firm. Register so you can have that certificate, open your own bank account. It's very key. So that's very important that you do that. Now, going further, what do you need? Do you need capital? Do you need knowledge? Do you need clients? Yes, you do. Now, this is where I'll start with how I started. I told you today is story. That's what we're going to be doing basically today, because I'll be telling you about myself. I was called to the Nigerian bar in 2019. I was called on 28th November 2019. After my call to the bar, I got employment, not employment per se. NYSC started same period. So I did my NYSC in a reputable law firm. Keep the name of the law firm out. very reputable law firm. They were paying us very well. The salary was quite okay for a copper. So it was quite okay for a copper. So what I did was that while I was there, I realized that the workload in these big law firms was quite enormous. So I have always had that vision to be a writer. In fact, before now, I valued writing more than law. But so when I was in that law firm, I was very concerned that with the way these people are using us, I might not be able to focus on my writing. So I started having that fear around after COVID, around that 2020, I was 7, that was COVID year, around July, August. So I spoke to my friend, and then both of us registered a partnership. That was our first law firm. So when we registered that partnership, I eventually now during my NYSC, I will not tell you my salary, but I'll tell you how much I was saving. I was saving 50K every month. I was saving 50K every month throughout my NYSC year. So I had about 600K at the end of my NYSC because I served for 1 year. I had about 600K at the end of my NYSC. Now I planned, yes, I had 600K. That this is what I'm going to use to start my law practice. So that was how I started. After January, I did some renovations because I didn't have an office. Of course, 600K cannot buy your office and buy you a table. You probably in Abuja. Of course, ask about Abuja if you're not here. You know how expensive things are. So my plan was that I had a laptop. That 600K was not for office. I will start my own law practice from my room. And that's how I started my law practice. From my very own room. All I needed was that I just needed money that would push me until I started getting clients, because I'm not from a very wealthy home. So I was not expecting my family members to give me the kind of brief that I wanted. So I knew that it may be difficult for the very first period of my life before I now get into that, before I start having my own clients. And that was how I finished. So what I now did, all these, what are those investments? These trade forex trading companies, and I invested the monies in those places. Less than 2-3 months after, everything crashed. I had 0 naira, 0 kobo left. And when that thing happened, I started writing my book in January, because that was one of the major reasons why I decided to become an entrepreneur, because I needed my own time to write. Of course, this is the book. The book later came out. That's the book. That's brief. Yeah. So I started writing my own book January. So when I started writing the book January, before March, I was penniless. I was writing the book looking for clients, but they were not coming. You are a young lawyer. Who knows you? How many experience do you have? So it was the toughest period of my life. Within that March till July, I would say that was the toughest period of my life. I lacked as little as the lowest cash you can think about. But there was one thing that kept me moving. I was determined. I told myself that I've started this thing. I want to see the end of it. Although there were times I don't have a CV at the moment. Of course, I'm supposed to have one, because you don't need CV just because of employment. You also need CV for other things. But I didn't have a CV. But at that period, I was considering putting up a CV. My parents were on my neck. You finished this year, first class graduate of law. Let me talk to your uncle. Once I come, they'll give you a job in a bank. Another my friend called me, and there's one reputable law firm that they are looking for lawyers. You have the qualification. Why not apply? And there were different people coming left, right, and center. But I told myself that after this thing, I want to see the end of it. That's what I told myself. I want to see the end of it. And so towards June, and my birthday was a few days back, June 5th. Towards that June period, that was the period I almost fell into depression, because I was going to my birthday. I had no penny almost to my name, apart from my laptop. Yeah, there were some jobs that would go to police station. I'll probably go and release someone from bail, or pay me 10K, 15K. You come back home, you're living in your family house, you give your mom small thing for food, you do this, and the next thing I left to probably 3 or 4K. You start the process again and start looking for another client. They may not come for the whole week. Other times, someone will say, "Oh, Danny, are you available? Go to court for me." I'll go to court, or give me 10K appearance fee. And that was how I was managing. But until I now had to do a rediscovery of myself, of course, for someone like me, I'm a Christian, like I said earlier, I had to put this in prayers. So there was prayer aspect of it, which I'll not dwell on, because I'm speaking to people of diverse faiths. But I had to do my own prayers. After I did my own prayers, then it was until July and I got my first brief. My first brief was a government brief. Through connection, I was able to connect myself with somebody who gave me a brief, and that was how, I will not tell the figure that came in, but the figure was the biggest figure I had ever seen in my life. That is, at that stage of my life, that was the biggest sum I had seen. The money was paid. I was to represent the federal government against somebody at the Federal High Court, and that was the one of the earliest cases I handled, and that case was won to the glory of God. So now that was how my life started changing. So I didn't see anything, any hope within March till July, before I started picking up gradually, before I was able to now get an office space with a senior colleague in September, and then we now moved somewhere else in December. So that was how it started. So you now got to realize that for someone like me, I didn't have clients, I didn't have capital. All I had was knowledge and a vision, and I had a laptop. I always say my laptop is my most prized asset. It's my most prized asset because that is my number one office. And it was my laptop. Based on my laptop, I was able to do a lot of things. Even if I now got a space where I was before I now moved to my current space. So that's it. So now going further, so this is just basically tell you that it doesn't always start rosy. It will start. Of course, you are just starting from the beginning. Nobody really knows you. You are a young entrepreneur, so you must be patient. You must be determined because a lot of noise will come from your parents, from your friends. Someone once told me that it hurts me very well because the person was a friend, was like, he doesn't know why I am at home wasting away. I had a first class. That particular word, it really hurts my feelings. But of course, I have to let it go. Because for them, they saw somebody who finished high term very well in school, and then you are just here, or your mates are already doing things when they're working in law firms, collecting 50K, collecting 100K, collecting 150K, and you are at home. But there was one thing. Let me give you this advice before I move to my next part of my conversation. As an entrepreneur, try as much as possible to be self-sufficient. Do not beg people for penny. That's the first thing that will kill your practice. The moment you begin to beg people for penny, then you give them the right to give an opinion of your practice. Since I started my law practice to this very day, I've never asked anybody for 1,000 airtime. I've been broke to the point, like I mentioned, that I didn't have such kind of amount of money to buy airtime for myself. But I held that pride. I never ever asked anybody for a penny. Not my parents, not my friends, not my family. Reason is that is the first access you are giving to anybody to give you an opinion that can kill your dream. Bros, I think get 5K, I won't go court. When I come back out, that's the first thing that's the first right you are giving to that person to kill your vision. So no matter how much, what I was not doing was, if I make 12K from maybe going to police station or from court appearance, I will conserve it. I will spend it small because I don't want to beg anybody for a penny. And when the money finishes, I'll sit in my house. I'll not go anywhere until another brief comes. So that was it for me. So never, as an entrepreneur, do not start with begging. It's not a good way you are giving people to kill your dream. Now let's go further. Types of law firms. Of course, when I wanted to start, I considered different types of law firms. Like I said, I started as a partnership. Myself and my friend started a law firm, but eventually I just told myself that, okay, he wanted to work with somebody and be doing the law practice. Me, I wanted to focus on this thing fully. I realized that our vision were not really aligned. I respected his own opinion because, of course, he's a young lawyer. He wants to practice somewhere, I don't know, maybe for a short period of time, then move out, or probably stay there while he's just having this as a side hustle. But me, this was not a side hustle for me. This was the main deal for me. This was the feed or die for me. For him, it was a side hustle. So later I realized that, this partnership cannot really work because we don't have the same vision. So I now had to move to my my own law firm. That was why I formed my own law firm, Iduh Advocates. I had to register it, and I made myself the sole proprietor of that law firm. So right now I'm in the sole proprietorship. Partnerships are good when you people have the same vision, when people are ready to put in the same resources. If one person is giving money, another person is doing the work. The person who is doing the work at the point will probably feel tired. If one person is doing the work and another person is putting money, another person who is putting money will start feeling cheated that this person is not really. Partnership is beautiful. Templars and a lot of all these other law firms started as a partnership. Different people coming together, pulling their connections. And my uncle is police. My auntie is a registrar. This other one, his uncle is this. People are pulling your connections. People are pulling your clients. To you, the firm will grow better. So I would advise you, if you have the vision of becoming a young entrepreneur, partnership is the best for you, because partnership helps you to share ideas with people, to share knowledge with people, to share wealth. Because the way I started, I could have not started in my room if I had a partnership of maybe 4 persons. Would have been probably raised that 100,000 each. We will rent one small room for 400K, and maybe all of us will be there starting our practice. Eventually, when we start making money, we'll now expand to a bigger office and the rest. But I couldn't raise the kind of money to rent an office and get office desks and get all those things at the time I started. So what I did was I started from my room. I just had my table in my room and I was working from there. That was how I started. So it may not be that for you if you're in a partnership. Partnership is the best. I would always tell anybody partnership is the best. Or if you want to do partnership, do associateship. Associateship is, of course, I have my Iduh Advocates. You have your Simon O Legal. Both of us are in the same building. That's what I'm currently doing right now. I'm in an associateship in a way. I have my law firm. My colleague has his own law firm. Both of us are in one building. He receives his clients. We have one secretary who attends to the both of us. We have our staff who attends to the both of us. But me, myself, I have my own law practice. I have my own clients. I make my own money myself. He has his own law practice. He makes his own money himself. He has his own clients. Well, we jointly pay salaries. I will jointly maintain the office. So this is an association arrangement. And that was the easiest way for me to probably pull out of that small practice, because you have to pull resources with people to make it easier. If you're from a rich home, kudos to you. Of course, if you're able to rent your law firm and the rest. But if you are not from a rich home, you may not want to start with that heavy burden of rent, especially if you're in a big town. So you want to start small, and if you're starting small, the best thing is to pull resources. If the rent is 500K for you guys, you are bringing 250K, you're bringing 250K. That's enough for you guys to probably now go and start your practice. Both of you are buying stuff together, paying salaries, and the rest. It will make it easier for you. Now let's move further. My time is almost over. In fact, my time is almost over. Okay. Now I'll leave law office environment because, of course, you already know what should be in a law office. But for me, what I started with was a desk, my laptop. But I had a vision. I knew that I was going somewhere, so I wasn't bothered. And then I just had a few other things. But even at that, my packaging was, I'll go to branding. Let's leave branding. Now, staff. If you want to start, of course, principal, you can start as a sole practitioner, where you are the principal, you are the secretary, you are the messenger, you are the everything. That one is the hardest part of it all, because it's almost as if you are going crazy. When I started my law practice and I started meeting some clients, I got one retainer with a law firm in Lagos that I was doing all the accounting proceeding. Today I am here in I could be here doing the brief for them, doing the accounting matter for them. The next thing, somebody's telling me that, oh, I've been arrested in the police station. I'm here trying to hurry the judge. Judge, of course, you cannot hurry the judge. You are there stamping your feet on the ground to see how you can do fast and run to this place. You want to then you now need to submit a letter. You're already getting out of time. You need to submit a letter. You now also have to run to court, go and submit that letter. Then from there, like that, you're almost like a madman. You are constantly on the road, moving from here to there. Now, that was how it started for me. But of course, I was a young man. I had the energy. I'm still a young man, of course. I'm still a very young man. So but I had the energy more then. So I was able to put in that energy to ensure that I do all these things. But it was not easy. It was very, very tiring. I was constantly. I didn't have a car at the time, so I was constantly entering one along to the other, and it was really a lot. It was really a lot starting that, going that way. But eventually, I was able to pull myself out of that place where I got my own office. We now had a secretary. Now we now have a lawyer working with us. And of course, it is the firm is still growing. I'm still a young entrepreneur. So now, that's for sole practitionership. Then next thing now, if you're able to now advance beyond that, before you employ another lawyer, employ a secretary, except you're employing the second lawyer as a secretary and a lawyer, then that's perfect. Then you don't need to start paying too high salary, because you are still very young in it. You're still very young in it. So your salary, you can start tell the person, oh, this is the package. I will give you free advice for myself. I will allow you to have your own client. Just be working with me. I have my space. You can use my space. And then I would be doing my work. That kind of package, even if you are paying the lawyer small money and you give the person the freedom to do what the person wants to do, then you may be able to attract lawyers to your law firm. But if you want to start by saying you must collect 40,000 naira and be sitting in this office morning to night, you may not have a lawyer who is dedicated to your law firm. Right now, my staff has been on break for throughout this week because she needed to go for a project that I no, feel free. You are going for a training. Go 1 week. Go and come back. It will not be deducted from your salary. This is an opportunity because I know that she also needs to build herself. The salary may not be like what Templars will give to her, and so I recognize that fact. So I'm able to allow her to do her own thing to ensure that what's it called? She doesn't feel shortchanged in any way, and she was also able to do the work with excitement. So that's that. If you are getting your first staff, it's very important that you don't mount too much pressure on the person. Don't employ staff and be forming boss. Your stress, I have a staff. Madam, sit down there. Why are you going to? No. It's not. You may not have a dedicated staff, and you're just a young lawyer. So there's even the tendency that they may look at your face, look at this small boy, someone telling me this thing. If he's senior, say, no, past 2 years. Like you start hearing that kind of gossip from the side. So you don't want that. So yeah, so that's that. Then you can also use NYSC associates. These are very good people to also use because they're just lawyers who are leaving law school, looking for a place to do their PPA. And then most of the PPAs will pay them 10,000, 20,000. If you just offer them maybe 30K or 40K or thereabout, some of them will be excited to work with you depending on what's it called. So you start small, get your staff, and then secretary. Once you have these 3 persons, and an NYSC associate, a secretary, and one lawyer working with you, trust me, you can start from that place and start growing. Now, let's go further. Advantages of starting early. Number one, you'll be a master of your time. Right now, I can decide at some point that I don't want to work today. There are sometimes I go to work 3 times in a week since this poor problem. 2 times in a week, I stay at home twice a week. So if I was working for somebody, I can't do that. I have to burn fuel every single day to go to the office. Whether or not I'm going to do something in the office. Which is not, and sometimes I can be in the house, I would prepare more than 10 agreements at home. But soon I'll come to the office, I'll not do nothing. So I have control of my time and where I want to be. If you are somebody who is family oriented, you have more time for your family if you are an entrepreneur. Freedom from enslavement. Enslavement in the aspect of somebody, there are lawyers that have told me of their bosses telling them to go and wash plates, wash their plate, go and buy food for them. A lawyer was sacked from a law firm because she went to buy food for her senior. She did not collect the change. The man now felt like she collected the money and ate it, and that was the basis upon which she was sacked. That's enslavement. Am I here to buy you food? So there are a lot of enslavement happening in the legal profession from senior lawyers. So sometimes starting early will also help you to avoid this enslavement. Availability to clients. Now, what I have come to realize is that a lot of clients work more with people who are available than people who have knowledge. I'll give you an example of my Chinese client that I have. That man, for every time he calls me, whether he's out of the country, Daniel, please, can you help me go to this place? Can you help me go and do this thing? Yes, I'm coming. You are running his business, whatever his legal job for him. Whenever he needs you to do those things, you're not telling him, my boss said that I should do something, I'll do it in the evening. That is an advantage you would have if you start your own law practice. First-hand experience. Now, I've made mistakes since I started my law practice. But one thing about this legal profession is that lawyers are always generous to share materials. Lawyers are very generous to share knowledge. Have mentors. If you want to become an entrepreneur, have mentors. Don't be totally separated from the legal profession. Have friends. Go to MBA meeting. Meet people. Have connection with lawyers because these are the people that will tell you their experiences, and this is where you learn from. So even me, myself, I have people who I call mentors. I have people who constantly tell me, no, this thing you are doing, I think you should do it this other way. Like that, I think you should do it this other way. So you have first-hand experience. And one thing about this thing is that by the time you stand in a court of law and somebody tells you you did something wrong and you are ashamed of what you did, you will never make that mistake again. That's one thing about it. So somebody said I have to change tires for my boss. All right, that's fine. So going further. So better remuneration depending on access to client. Now, this is one major aspect I want to tell you. The only advantage, the only thing that my only regrets in not working in a law firm for a long period of time My only regret is that my experience is slow. When I was in my NYSC, we were going to court in 5 days in a week, right? You go to court maybe 4 or 3 times a week, average. 4 or 3 times a week you're in court. Now that I'm a lawyer, if I open I have up to 15 to 20 cases that are actively going on. I have quite a number of cases that are actively going on, but because of I don't have access to as much brief. I have gradual and slow access to knowledge. So it says, but what I do is I read law. I read what's it called? I read law reports. When I go to court, I'm not in a hurry to leave the court. When my case is over, I sit back, keep the judge company. I listen to the cases that other people are doing. I hear what the court has to say. I hear what other lawyers are saying in court. Then I meet my colleagues. I ask them questions. I ask about their day and all those things. This is where I don't get my experience from. So the advantage you get if you work in a law firm is that you have access to other people's, to your principal's clients. You have access to more files. For me, I don't have that much access. But right now, I'm beginning to have more. When I started newly, I didn't have the access. That one disadvantage you may have will be that slow access to knowledge. But one thing I told myself was, one of the questions somebody asked me was that, now that you want to start a law practice, how do you deal with the issue of knowledge? I told the person that, well, I work, if you're in a room, most of us have been in a room that have ties, right? Like this tile on the floor finish ties. So now in that tile, now you see that there are different boxes. If you start your law practice by trying to put your leg on all the tiles, you will make too many mistakes that may cost you your law practice. So what you now do is that when you start, you go gradually. First of all, you pick tenancy matter. You do the first one. But when you're done with that tenancy matter, you realize that, okay, this side is done. You have done one. There's no way you forget about tenancy matter again. The next thing you do the recovery of debt. Or somebody gives you another aspect. You are doing them gradually. So you realize that you are ticking the box one by one, until you have done several. My first divorce matter that I handled, I was like, can I handle this divorce matter? I just picked the brief. I consulted seniors. They gave me templates. I read the Matrimonial Causes Act. I did all those things. And since that, I have done several others. So, but when you want to start, you have to go gradually. You don't just start and go and pick an election petition. You might ruin the case for the client. It might cost you your legal practice. So you start gradually. You don't start doing everything. You don't start and go and start doing one international relation, something of government that involves $10 billion US, and you want to do it alone. By the time you lose that case, or you probably make a fundamental mistake that makes a client to lose that kind of amount of money. Of course, you might probably see Nigerian police, or probably go to the Nigerian Legal Disciplinary Committee, Legal Professional Disciplinary Committee, or some other place you don't want to go to. So you can actually cure that defect, Rule 16 of the RPC, by competence. Competence can be getting another lawyer that would assist you in doing that. I'm running short of time, so let me just go further. Now, the disadvantage of starting early. What are the disadvantages? I already said them. Lack of proper know-how, inexperience. One, office colleagues. You may not have access to office colleagues to ask questions. Easy access to clients. Their financial constraints. There was one thing I wanted to say about finance. I'm at the last part of the last part is tips. So let me just say that before I go to the last part of this conversation. Now, the financial aspects. Am I doing well practicing on my own? No, I'm not. Maybe compared to some other law firm that they are paying them $1 million per month or $1.5 million per month, I may not say I'm doing so better than other people who are collecting bigger money or this thing, but I am not doing bad. I can pay every bill I want to, every of my basic bill that I need to pay. I can fuel my car. I can pay my rent. I can settle all the immediate bills that I need to settle, and I can still have something I'll put in my savings and say my savings is growing gradually. So, but the major challenge but if you are now working in some of this other law firm, you start with some of this other law firm that are paying you 50K, you may be running into debt from month to month, because 50,000 naira cannot take you anywhere. Now let's to the tips. Being an entrepreneur lawyer, what are the basic things that has helped me as a lawyer? Number one, salary. Your office money is not your money. Your office money is not your money. You must pay yourself salary. My first salary to myself, okay, let me not tell you. Let me leave that one out of it. But I started paying myself. When I started new, I was struggling because every money it was from hand to mouth, hand to mouth. I would probably make money. I'll go back home. I'll give my mom the little I can give to her. I'll probably give this one his own. I will now keep the little I can keep for myself. Then I'll spend. When I get broke, I'll look for another client. I'll give me money again. It was a poverty circle until I now realized that I needed to start having my own salary and then separate from office income. So I now thought about how much was I earning averagely within a month. I now realized that, okay, I was earning this, then let me pay myself salary of this, and then every job that comes goes into the office account. At the end of the month, I'll pay myself salary. But I realized that I was doing that until I now got myself a car. Of course, if any of you probably know someone who has a car, if you have a car, you realize that mechanic and car and all those things, these are things that will probably eat a lot of your money and the rest. So fuel as well. I realized that the salary was not always enough to go around to settle all the bills. What did I start doing? And I started doing I'll get whatever income I earn, 20% of that income goes to me. 80% of the income goes to office accounts. Then at the end of the month, I collect my salary. So office must always earn. So office earns 80% of whatever I earn. 20% goes to me. So if I probably make 200K today now, I'll take out 40,000 naira for myself and then keep the remaining maybe 160,000, right? Keep the remaining 160,000 in the office account. Then whatever I make throughout the month, at the end of the month again, I'll still pay myself my salary. That now became easier for me to be able to run my office, and then I started seeing the dividends of the entrepreneur. That's one. Number two, branding. Branding is also very key when you are doing I had to register my law firm. Register your law firm. Register it. Get a logo for yourself. My office color is black and gold. And I try to put something. So everything I'm doing, every flyer I ever get to make. I don't do advertisements. I will get to that. I don't do advertising. Maybe I want to do an occasion. I want to invite people to my office or something, or I'm celebrating an event. I always use that particular color. I have my office color. I have my office. Everything now, all those things. I have to build my office website. I have my office Facebook. I have my office WhatsApp. I have my office LinkedIn. I have my office Instagram. These are part of the branding. You put your office out there. Because we're in the world of social media. If you're not in the social media space, you may not really get as much clients as you should get, or you may not really get that. Some persons may not even go to your social media page to get your contact. Some may know you, but they'll research about you to know that they can trust you. When they go online, they see a website, they see this and they see that, they will now be able to trust you to an extent. Now, how to circumvent advertisement. The rule of RPC says do not advertise. That's what the rule of RPC says. Do not advertise as a lawyer. How do you not go about this as a young lawyer who is just starting? Nobody knows you. What do I do? Advertising is saying that Mr. Chooks and Eke, I'll come to you and say, Mr. Chooks, I'm a lawyer. I do CAC registration. I register companies. You're not breaching the RPC. Or I now go to Mr. Emmanuel and say, Mr. Emmanuel, please, I learned that somebody slapped your father last week. Please, I'm a lawyer. Can I just help him? Can I just help him handle that case? I'm a very good lawyer. That's solicitation. That's against the RPC. So now that you are now realizing that in this way you cannot advertise, you cannot solicit. How do you now get clients? What may I do is that I've never advertised. What I always do is that once in a while I put my office logo, my office picture on my status. When I open my website, I put it up there. I now have a website. When I open my Instagram, I have an Instagram page. Of course, as a lawyer, putting your signpost out there is not advertisement. The law allows it. So this is just telling people that you have someone that can access you. And this things build in their mind, in their subconsciousness, that you're a serious lawyer who is doing this entrepreneurial business. That's one. Now, when it comes to talking to people, if I come to a midst of people, I don't tell people that I register a company. What I would rather do is that I'll tell you about my experience. I'll be like, CAC network is very poor. Do you know that last week I've not been able to register any company because of this CAC network? Now I'm not advertising to you. I'm only telling you my experience, and then you now use your head and say, so you're a lawyer, you register a company. Yes, I register a company. I've got a lot of clients through that means. Or I'll be like, I went to police station today and it was hectic. That's my conversation with you. I'm giving you my gist of my day. You now realize that the next thing you start telling me, you do police cases. I will recommend somebody. Or divorce matters. I'll be like, maybe once in a while, I'll be like, maybe I'm gisting in a group of friends. And I say, judges can be very mean. I was handling one divorce matter last week, and the judge was telling one lawyer in court that the lawyer was a madman. I'm giving you a gist of an experience in court, but I've mentioned in that gist that I'm a divorce lawyer. So next time that you are probably thinking of a divorce, that you mentioned the other time that he does divorce cases. Let us call him. And I kid you not, that is how I've gotten majority of my clients. I've never advertised. I don't tell people how people put CAC on their status. I register company. I've never done that since my law practice. I've never ever done that. But I don't lack clients. Now let me go further. Now the next thing is at the beginning, accept brief. I already said that, so I can skip that now. Build experience slowly and grow gradually. Build experience slowly and grow gradually. Next, office money is not your money. Pay salary to yourself. I already said that as well. Now, the last one, start young and be determined. Now, I'll end my lecture with a story. This story helped me because there were times in my life where I told myself that I was going to give up on this thing. Mr. Emmanuel, I'm sorry that I've taken more time than I should. I'm about to end right now, just my story and I'll end. So, what I had I went for a session where a speaker was talking to us, and he was talking about being determined. There are certain things you want to do in life. Let me take out my glasses. You put your eyes on the goal and don't take it off, no matter the challenges that will come. That is, if you want to become an entrepreneur, that is the mindset you should have. Once you start something, you should put your mind to that thing and say, this is where I rather die trying or I achieve it. Now, let me tell you the story quickly. Now, he told us the story of a Japanese general. He took his soldiers to go and fight a war. When they went to fight the war, they crossed the sea. When they crossed the sea and they reached the other side of the sea, then they now realized, they now looked further. And the general now saw that, the general and his men now saw that the people that they came to fight, they were 1,000, but the people that they came to fight they were 10,000 in number. So when the general turned back and looked at his soldiers, he saw fear in their eye. You know what he did? He turned back and told them, burn all the boats. So they burnt every boat. So he now told them, right now, is either we go and fight and die, or we fight and then win and find a way to go back home. That is the mind of a general, but that will be the mind of an entrepreneur. When you start off any course, that you believe so much in your heart that this is what I want to do, you have been convinced, because the first person you must convince is yourself, not any other person, not your mother, not your father, not your brothers, not your friends. Convince yourself that this is what I want to do. Then have the mindset of that general, that I rather stay here and die trying. I rather stay here and succeed, or I die trying to succeed. But I'm not leaving this thing that I'm doing. And that was the thing I told myself when I was passing through the most difficult period of my life. I told you that was January to July 2021. That period of my life was the most difficult part of my life because I lacked the most basic thing I needed for myself. As the most basic things. I don't want to mention, but even as little as transport, I lacked it. But one thing I told myself was that I have crossed the sea. It's either I fight these soldiers and succeed, or I die in the battlefield. But there's the option of going back. The boat has been burnt. There's no option of going back home. So that's the mindset you should carry as an entrepreneur in whatever you do, once you have made that decision, have that mindset that it is a do or die affair. Until you succeed, don't stop trying. I started without nothing, like I mentioned, I started without nothing in my room. I still have the picture. I don't know if I have it on my Facebook page. I don't know. I'm not sure I have it there, but I know I started in my room on a table, on a poorly constructed table. That's why I started my law practice. I have not arrived where I want to be. I can still be bigger than where I am. In fact, I'm very far from my destination. But when I look back at the things I've achieved, at the problems I have been able to solve out of my own earning, Are the office resources that I now possess, the assets I now have, are the finances in the office account and in your account? By the time you look back, it may not be so big, but compared to where you are coming from, you see progress. And that's my encouragement to you and to everyone here who wants to be an entrepreneur. When you start, do not measure yourself with Wole Olanipekun or Templars or with these senior lawyers who have been doing this for a long time. You are just starting. Even for your friends who have started with you, who are making billions already, go gradually until you get to the point. Be friendly to your clients. Know how to keep your clients. Make friends, connect yourself with people. Be an entrepreneur is somebody who goes out there, who is out there. You're not an introvert, you're an entrepreneur. You must be out there. You must talk to people. You must make clients. You must speak good English. You must have a good presentation of yourself. Dress very well, so that people will think that people will address you very well. Whatever it is to give yourself a good look to the public, it is very important that you always do that as an entrepreneur, because your image is the image of your business. If you are someone that doesn't have a good reputation, it will affect your business. So you must give yourself a very good image out there. You must work very hard. You must read more than how other people read. You must save more than how any other person saves. Savings is very key. Savings, always have something at the back in your bank account for the office. By the time you have all these things put in place, I'm sure that you would have a good beginning as a lawyer. Now, the thing is, I will not go further. I actually wanted to share more of my experiences, but of course, there has to be an end to litigation and an end to conversation. So yes, I will have to stop here. Probably someday in the future, I will have the opportunity to talk more for a longer period of time. But for now, I think I've gone way past my time, and I don't want to go beyond that. So please, maybe if you ask your questions, I'll be able to answer more directly. But for now, thank you so much, and God bless you for your time and for listening.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Daniel. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say what an impactful session we've had. Thank you for joining us. But if I'm to recap, I just want to go over some of the things that you said for emphasis. You mentioned that your law degree is a meal ticket, and lawyers only seek to eat from other lawyers. Once it's not a prerequisite, there's nothing stopping you from feeding yourself via a law degree, and it's a reason for you to believe in yourself. And you also mentioned that it may not always be rosy, it may not always be easy, but you have to stay committed to your goal, you have to keep working hard. And you've given us beautiful tips on how to make it as entrepreneurs, and so we are very, very grateful. So while we encourage other people to send in their questions, I'll start with the first question I have here. So Daniel Asha asks a question. He says, which would you advise for a new week or young lawyer, private practice or public service? I know that you've already initially talked about where. Did you hear the question? Okay. He said, which would you advise for a new week or young lawyer, private practice or public service?
Or public service?
Yes, public service.
Okay. You know, like I started from the very beginning, everything depends on you as a person, because different people have different callings. Just like some persons are pastors today and they are doing very well. Some persons are soldiers today and they are doing very well. Some persons are pastors and they are doing very poor. So everything depends on what you want to be. Some persons are teachers, some persons, they are different things. So I will not make a decision for anybody. I don't make decisions for clients. I always allow clients to make that decision for themselves. I'll present you with every fact for you to be able to make a decision for yourself. So with all I've told you, public service, if you start in public service, maybe if you're in a state, in a state, sometimes your salary may start from 120,000 to 150,000 naira. You start earning that, gradually you grow until you probably get to the peak of your career. Now, if the drive is money, I think that private practice may fetch you more money than public service, because public service limits your ability to be able to write agreements. My friends who are in public service, they can't write agreement the way I can write agreement. Somebody brings a brief of 10 billion or 10 million or 5 million and you're supposed to make 500K from it. You cannot do that brief. Reason is that you're a public servant, you're not supposed to do private practice. So that limits your ability to earn. I always say, some people say, I pray for you, you become the CJ on Nigeria. I reject it in Jesus' name. I don't become CJN. I don't want to sit on the bench. This is me. That I know what I'm aspiring for. I know that this is not where I want to be. The judges maybe any more money, so maybe good money, but lawyers probably earn more than them. I will say that anytime. An average lawyer earns more than a rich judge. So that's that for that. That question for me, make your decision for yourself. If you are looking for money, then don't go to public service. If you have intention of growing in that particular area, because some persons want to be maybe policemen, they want to be soldiers, they want to be NDLA staff, they want to be legal officers in certain places. If that's the dream, that's the goal you have, and you have that strong vision for it, go for it, please. Chase vision. If whatever it is that is your drive, allow yourself to make the decision for yourself. I will not make it for you. So choose what you think you're happy about. But I'll tell you that financially, if that's the reason for the question, lawyers in private practice are more likely to make more money in the long run, maybe not in the short time, but in the long run, than those in public service.
Exactly.
Well, that's
I think that
one last point. That's 6.4 million naira. They don't start paying the CJ as monthly salary. Some lawyers make it in one signature. That's what the CJN of Nigeria will be receiving during the election petition. So lawyers are making 1 billion. CJN is here receiving 6.4 every month. That's that.
Thank you. I think that's actually one of the part of the question that you ended up addressing, which is long run, especially as you mentioned in the beginning stage, especially when you're on your own trying to start up with both the clients, the knowledge, and the capital. It's difficult to actually compare that to someone with a fixed salary and what they know they would receive at the end of it. So that actually brings us to the second half of that question. I think Faith Adida is looking at her hand. So if you have any questions, please ask them in the comment section in the chat and then I'll address it. So the second half of Daniel Asher's question was that what is your take on the subject of privilege from new weeks? So I think that this is copying in. You didn't hear me there? Should I repeat the question?
I didn't hear you.
He said, what is your take on the subject of pupillage for new wigs?
Okay.
Given the context of the first question, I think it's also coming from the monetary standpoint, right? Where you have to balance short-term earning, knowledge, and then actually then starting your own thing. So like it's the matter of balance between how you get the knowledge and then at what point you leave, especially because many times under pupillage itself, people don't want to pay and you're just getting the knowledge. So what's your take on that?
So my take on pupillage is that it's like I mentioned in my lecture, there are advantages and there are disadvantages. The advantages, for example, if you finish from school and you are able to get employment in a big law firm that pays you very well, it is beautiful. It's a good thing. And I'm talking about the financial aspects. Where you probably have challenges is where you are probably in a law firm and they are paying you very meager amount of money and they want to take all your time. In that instance now, then you're not probably I give an example of my friend who has worked for close to 4 years and she has not been able to do much for herself. She just started law practice by herself late last year. By this year, she has gotten herself a car. She cannot pay her rent by herself. As at previous times, it was not that easy. She still needed a few support from family and friends, from family. And then, but just a year, just less than 1 year into doing her own thing, she's able to get something of that in this current economy that things are expensive. Buy yourself one. So, if it's a financial aspect, I would say that depending on where you are starting from, you're starting from some of these smaller firms, then being an entrepreneur will fetch you more money. But the best I would advise you to do is that because of experience is very key in this profession because a lot of persons, if you don't get it right from the very beginning, you may get it wrong. And it affects you for a very long time. So the best is that if you can get a law firm that's paying you small, and then you have the opportunity to be able to do your own practice, that's the best. So you are gaining experience from your principal, learning under your principal. Your firm is registered on the side. So your law firm is side hustle, and your principal work is the main one. So whenever you get a job, CSA registration or anything it is you need to do, your principal will give you. Are you busy? No, I'm not busy. You can go. You go and do that one, make some money from there. Still come back to your principal, to your place of work, and still learn under your principal. Then whenever you have a problem with that work you are doing, you bring it to principal and say, sir, today I went out and one man was telling me that I was wrong. Am I really wrong? Man, oh, I think you are wrong. You should have done this other way. So that's the best. That's the to like a hybrid way of doing it. Have your own and have this thing. But financially, I would say for a young lawyer who's not in a big law firm, I would say yes, being an entrepreneur is better. But for a lawyer who is in a good law firm that pays you well, you are going to enjoy more experience, you still enjoy money, but you don't have the time. A lot of them, you are actually very busy. So that's
Other than the timing, it's another question that I personally have. Conflict of interest. Sometimes you are not allowed to actually have your own thing on the side. So how do you even balance it out to now know that, okay, you've reached the point where you have how do you get the clientele or how do you know when it's time to leave such an, arrangement where you're getting money, you're getting experience, but you don't really have your own clients because you don't have the time and you're constrained by conflict of interest clauses in your employment contract. So,
all right. So when you are in such a situation where you want to run your private practice, you want to work with somebody, then you are almost like putting two legs. So whenever it is said that you cannot serve two masters at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes. So even if you are serving them, you have a wobbling loyalty. So now it's an advantage you're going to suffer. That issue of time and clientele, you don't have all the time. And like I told you earlier, availability of clients is very key. So availability of lawyer is very key to clients sometimes. When the client calls you and say, Daniel, please, can you help me go to the police and help me bail my friend? I tell you that, my boss sent me, I cannot go. The next time he may not reach out to you again. You may start losing him gradually. Yeah. Most time when you are in such a situation, you don't go deep into the practice. You don't start collecting briefs, too many briefs. Most times you limit yourself to maybe agreements. If at all you want to now do what's it called, litigation and other ones that will take your time, you now get people who are probably in private practice working for themselves, and they now partner with them. So you are giving them knowledge while they are doing the runaround. You can even be drafting the court processes in your office at your own free time. But whenever it is time to go and file it or to go to somewhere, you call that person on phone. I do that. People do that with me a lot. If I majority of my brief, but quite a number of my briefs are given to me by my fellow lawyers. In fact, I've enjoyed legal practice more from lawyers than even clients. Just add one aspect. I have a friend at the period where I was able to purchase my car. I was saving towards it already. My friend was in the US. A client reached out to her and said, "Oh, and can you do so thing for me?" She said, I'm not in the country at the moment. She called me all the way from the US, and I was like, okay, can you help a client do so and so thing? And it was from just that brief that was able to come, that I was able to pull that through. So you get to realize that the ability to be able to collaborate with people who are free or who have more time on their hand is another way for you to escape this thing. A lot of these persons will reach out to me and say, do this for me, and I do it for them. And I'm not, you try not to be greedy. When someone does that for you and does that for you, you try to ensure you give the person good remuneration. Go and don't pay the person well. Next time you reach out, the person just tell you, don't worry, I'm busy, and then that's it. So that's the answer to that question.
Yes, Adam, thank you very much. That actually presents itself as a loophole per se. So I think you can actually even apply it to people who are not particularly interested in litigation itself or private practice.
Yeah.
But being a lawyer, people around you will also want to come to you with their problems, and you may not have that expertise or the time to pursue that. So it actually is a call for collaboration. So you can always reach out to someone who is in that aspect of it. Share the proceeds. So thank you very much. You have actually provided insights, and thank you for sharing it. It does seem superficial sometimes, because sometimes you feel like when you're reading, once you leave law school, you have this grade, immediately you're going to start making so money, which is possible, but you shed light on how it's not always going to be a straight journey. It can be rocky, but you have to continue to believe in yourself. You have to continue to have that expertise. And I think one thing that I know that you emphasized was the requirement for commitment to your work and actually doing the work well. Because even if you actually have the time and the opportunity, if your work is not quality, you only will come back to me. You don't have any referrals. So thank you very much, Sir Dan, for shedding light on this. And then also on the loopholes of hiring, starting small, starting using a secretary or NYSC advocates, and then giving us the options, the advantages and disadvantages of private practice entrepreneurship. And of course, you being a writer yourself has shown us that you don't have to also confine yourself to practicing. You can always pursue things that are important to you, things like where your passion is, because that's actually very important. If you don't believe in a course, when it begins to get rocky, you don't want to stay. So, as an association, as an individual, I speak for everyone who has attended school. I want to thank you once again for sharing with us. We would also have future meetings, and I would love if you to get you back again, hopefully with more time, so that we can really learn from us. We grow as a community, as a profession, and as individuals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. I am grateful to everyone who participated, and I really hope you've learned something. Yes, I mean, I've spoken very fast. I wanted to beat time, but I'm sure we all learned something. Thank you so much, and it's a privilege. Whenever you want me to be around, I'll be happy to avail myself.
Really appreciate that. And then on Wednesday, the 12th of June, we will be having Mr. Festus Ogura from FO Legal. He'll be speaking to us again on whether or not we should do litigation. I think it's important, given the context and the strong foundation that Sir Daniel has laid for us tonight about the customers. And he has not also taken aside. He has told you to choose what you would want to do depending on your passion, your drive, and commitment. I would like to hear and also learn from more colleagues who are going and doing it and understanding it. And hopefully, with time, we'll be able to make progress. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm sure we would also be available. Please watch out for our next announcement and everything. We'll keep in touch. Thank you very much. Next.